Joining me now, Republican Congressman from Oregon, the newly elected chairman of the National Republican Congressional Committee, Greg Walden. Mr. Walden, thanks so much for being on the program.
Luke, good to be with you this morning. Thanks.
So we were just talking about the big fiscal meeting that's going to be at the White House. Obviously, you're close with Speaker Boehner. Do you think there's any hope that from today we could get an idea of a central blueprint that they're all going to try and work around, the central blueprint compromise for the fiscal cliff?
Well, at a minimum, it would be nice to come out of this with a framework to reach a solution to problems. I don't think anybody expects the president, after being reelected, to suddenly retreat from his principles, and I can't imagine they'd expect Republicans to retreat from theirs. But somewhere in the middle here, we can find mutual agreement, and I think common ground. The nation wants it. They expect it. They deserve it. That's what they elect us to do. So hopefully this will be the beginning of finding some solutions to the enormous problems we face.
It's interesting in terms of common ground because some of your colleagues who were reelected really do believe that they were sent to Washington to continue the fight that they have over the last few years. From Utah, Jason Chaffetz said this. I want to play it and get your reaction.
I'm going to assume because pretty much every Republican congressman
did. Pretty much, yeah.
So would you be fine doing a compromise where you would go against your signature on that pledge?
I do not intend to do that. I want to fight for the principles I believe in. I, too, was elected.
And then you hear it, I, too, was elected, almost saying that it's the equivalent of the president being reelected. Is that going to be a problem in terms of trying to get a grand bargain?
Well, Luke, as I said, I don't think anybody would expect the president to run away from his principles or Republicans newly elected to the House to suddenly jettison their principles. In between that, though, if it's about trying to get government back to where we can afford it, generate revenues by creating new jobs and closing loopholes and all in the tax code, to be a piece of it, I think we can find common ground. If we all get hung up in what somebody says here or there, or saying if you don't abandon your principles, then there's no solution, I think that's the wrong course of action. Let's get a framework in place. Let's see what we can do to find common ground and get to an answer here. It won't be easy, but if these problems were easy, it would have been resolved long ago. But if we get hung up over saying, oh, you have to abandon your principles, Mr. President, or Republicans, you have to abandon yours, then we're going nowhere. I think that's a cul-de-sac, a dead-end street.
Pacific Northwest pragmatism right there. Question for you as NRCC chairman. One of your chief responsibilities is going to be the recruitment of members to run in 2014. You guys obviously, if you look at the demographics of the country, took a real shellacking amongst African Americans, amongst Latinos, amongst the younger voters. How intense are the recruitment efforts going to be from you to try and get folks that look more like America and not be as white as the Republican Party is?
You know, one of the ironies of this election outcome, at least right now, it appears that some of our Latino members, some of our women members, and perhaps one of our African American members were turned out by voters, which is kind of ironic. Look, we've got to do better. We know that. We have to learn from our losses. But this is still the second biggest majority the Republicans have had in the United States House of Representatives since World War II. We're coming off the biggest. So we have a message that works. Look at the census data, though, and tell me today, with poverty rates shooting up even higher among Latinos and Asians, that somehow what the Democrats have offered has worked for them. You know, the best thing we can do is run on our economic platform. It's about creating jobs, about lifting people out of poverty. And yes, we're going to reach out and do a better job communicating that message. There have been mistakes made. We're going to learn from them. We're going to do better.
Mitt Romney said in a conference call to his financial chairs that the reason he lost the presidency was because the president was giving gifts to those groups. Do you agree with that statement? And does that help in your recruitment of new folks to try and change the demographic look of the Republican Party?
Look, my view is I've never seen a person in political life get in trouble for what they did not say. And I'm going to leave it at that. It's best to talk about the positive things, I think, in our agenda, because I'm proud of our agenda about trying to grow jobs and about trying to get back on its feet and working again. And we need to reach out to all voters, all Americans, and tell them we're the party of hope and opportunity, of jobs and growth, and about getting the government to be responsive and not just overbearing. So that's where we're headed.
Greg Walden of Oregon and new NRCC chairman, thanks so much for coming on the program. Be well.
Thanks, Luke. You too.
Our political panel